Well, hello fellow crafters and fellow artists, Janine here. I am going to show you today how I made this really cute personalized pillowcase for my granddaughter. Of course, her name is Lily, and she is a big fan of Disney's Frozen. And so I knew I had to make her something really personal and really cute for Christmas that incorporated that Frozen theme into it. As some of you know, I did win a giveaway that May Made It had on her channel for a Cricut Explorer Air 2. And I was over the moon excited. I got it just a little bit after Christmas, and hadn't seen that granddaughter yet, so it was just in time for me to be able to make a present for her. And so I had already purchased, I knew I'd already won the Cricut, so I went ahead and purchased a lot of vinyl and transfer iron-on paper and things of that nature, and I'll link that haul right here so that you can see that. So I'd already purchased a lot of that sort of stuff, and I was just waiting for that Cricut to come in. So as soon as it came in, I got busy making some really cute stuff for my grandkids. But they were all kind of along this line of, you know, an iron-on type thing. So I really felt like showing you one would be sufficient, and, you know, not necessarily showing you all of them. But anyway, let me go ahead and get started and show you how I made this really cute pillowcase. After you open Cricut Design Space, in the upper right hand corner is an option called Canvas, and that allows you to set your working area to the size project that you're going to be working on. So it helps you to keep everything in proportion that you're going to be doing, you know, all your images in a proper proportion to fit on the object that you're working on. So if you were going to be working on a t-shirt, you could set your canvas to a t-shirt. You know, and they have a number of different options. So I chose twin size pillowcase because that was the right size project for what I was going to be working on. Okay, after choosing the size canvas that you're going to be working with, the next thing that you're going to want to do is insert some images. So in that upper left hand corner is the option to insert images, and it brings you to this page where the images can be found. In the upper right hand corner is the search bar. So I typed in Frozen because I know that Cricut does work with Disney and has a number of different Disney cartridges. So I felt certain they would have images that would pertain to the cartoon Frozen. And that did bring up a lot of images to work with. It was actually really hard choosing the ones that to narrow it down because there were so many and they were all so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and show you and tell you the images that I chose in their product number and cartridge. So the first one I chose was Anna, and her image number is M1CECAA, and she was from the cartridge Disney Frozen. Then the grouping of 3 snowflakes was from the cartridge The Good Old Days, and its product number is MB957C. And then Elsa with snowflakes was also from Disney Frozen Printables, and her product number is M6137E9. And then that beautiful blue and turquoise colored snowflake is from Disney Frozen, and its product number is M1BD8FF. And then the really cute pink and blue snowflake was also from Disney Frozen Fever, and its product number is M32923B. And that's all the images I chose, and the next thing you would need to do is insert the images that you pick by pressing that green Insert Images icon in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and that'll bring all of the images that you chose to the canvas that you're working on. And as you can see, the prices ranged per image from 99 cents to $1.49 to $1.99. So it really wasn't bad, and if you're really not sure that you would use all the images in a cartridge, it can be very cost effective to just purchase the images you do want to use. Now I did want to have multiples of the images that I purchased because 1 or 2 snowflakes was obviously not enough snowflakes to represent a frozen environment. So what I did do was use the copy and paste feature. So I simply clicked on the image that I wanted to replicate, and then went up to the top middle section of the toolbar and clicked on copy, and then clicked on paste, And you can do that as many times. You do not have to pay for the images over and over again as you do that. You only pay for the image once. So you can use the image after you purchase it over and over and over again as many times as you want, because it now belongs to you. So simply copy and paste to get the number of images you want, and then arrange them on your canvas as it pleases you, so you can get an idea of how it's going to look on your final product. While you're clicked on the image, you do have a number of different options for editing it. There is the unlock bar, so if you want to change its proportions, you can unlock it, and then you can resize it by using that resize corner. But if you want to keep the proportions as they are originally to the photo, then you would not unlock it, you would leave it locked. So you have the option to resize it by simply clicking on that icon and then pulling the image out, or bringing it back in. Then there is the option to rotate it by using that little half circle icon. And you can also delete it by pressing the red X. So you have a lot of options for editing the image simply right there within the image itself. So after I got all the images replicated, resized, and placed where I wanted them to be on my canvas, the next thing I needed to do was add Lily's name. And that is as simple as clicking on the icon that's on the left toolbar, the left side toolbar. Click on the icon that says Add Text. Then this text box will pop up on your screen, and you type into that text box whatever text you want to have on your project. And then if you go to the right hand side of the screen, you have the options to edit that text, and from there you can choose your font, you can choose the size, you can choose the color of the layers, and so forth. What I chose to do was to replicate the colors that were found in this blue and purple snowflake into the letters. So each image has several layers, and each layer has a different color. So I chose the turquoise and purple snowflake, and then looking at the layers, I chose the color, the two layers that had the colors that I wanted to replicate in the text. So I wanted the background color of the text to be in that pretty turquoise color. So what I did was I clicked on that turquoise layer of the snowflake, and then I looked at the color number that is located in that layer of the snowflake, and I copied that, and then I pasted it into the layer of the text that I wanted to be the same color. And then I repeated the process on the purple layer. So I just clicked on the purple layer of the snowflake, copied the color number, and then pasted it into the color number of the top layer of the text. And there you go, we have perfectly coordinated and matched text to go with our image, and it coordinates beautifully. Okay, before you'll be ready to cut, the next thing you have to do is flatten all the images. So basically what that does is it takes each layer of the image and it puts it together with all of the other layers of the image so that it makes one image. Because if we were going to be cutting this out of cardstock rather than printing it onto transfer paper, what it would do is tell you to put in all these different colors of cardstock. Then it would cut out each layer of that cardstock according to the number of the layers, or which color layer coordinates with each cardstock piece. I'm probably not explaining this well, but anyway, but because we're not going to be printing this out of different colors of cardstock, so once we would have all that cut out of cardstock, then we would glue or adhere each layer to the next layer to create the different colors within the image. But we're not going to be doing that. We're actually going to be printing the image out, so we don't need to layer different colors of cardstock to make the color image, or different colors of vinyl, or so forth. So we need to flatten them, and so that makes it go from being different layers of image to one layer of an image with different colors within that layer. So you need to click on each individual image, and you need to flatten it before we can go on to print and cut. Okay, so now that we have our name, and we have all the images, and we have a pretty good idea of the placement, and we know everything's going to fit, now we're ready to print and cut. So on that top toolbar, the very right option is Go. So you would want to click on Go, and that would bring us to the Print Then Cut screen. When doing print and cut, it's a really good idea to have the bleed option selected, because what that is going to do is actually overprint the image. It's going to make it look blurry when it prints, and of course it freaked me out a little bit the first time I saw it. But it's good that it bleeds it out like that and makes it look a little bit blurry, because when it actually cuts it, it makes it look really sharp, and then you don't have any white edges around your image. It just absolutely cuts it perfectly right up to the color with no gap. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is choose the size paper that you're working on, or the size product that you're working on. This transfer paper happened to be 8.5 by 11, so I choose that size, and then I choose mirror image. Because I am printing this onto iron-on transfer paper, it does need to print onto there in a mirror image, so that when I iron it on, it's actually in the proper direction. Okay, the next step is going to be to send your images to the printer to print. Now, you're not going to have them on your cutting mat yet. You're just going to take your transfer paper to your printer. In my case, I'm using special transfer paper that's meant for a laser printer, so I printed mine on a laser printer. There is different transfer paper. Actually, the majority of the transfer paper you can find out there that's printable is for inkjet. So I actually had a little bit of a difficult time finding some for a laser printer, but I'll go ahead and put a link below for you to this heat transfer paper, because it was really hard to find. Now, I do not get any money from Amazon for sending you a link, so you know, I'm not making any money from sending you there. It's just where I was able to find the heat transfer paper that could work with a laser printer. But anyway, I went ahead and printed all 4 pages at once, because it seemed to be more convenient to print everything out and then come to the Cricut and cut it. Other people might do it differently, but that's the way I did it. Okay, now that you have your images printed, you're ready to cut. And of course, it reminds you to set your dial to the appropriate dial setting on your Cricut for the material that you're cutting out. Now, you're not going to want to use the iron-on setting on the Cricut for this heat transfer paper, because what they're talking about is iron-on vinyl, and that is doing a kiss cut. And so that's not what we want to do here. We want to actually cut through the material completely, so I use the light cardstock setting to cut my paper out. And then it's going to prompt you to load the paper by pushing the load button on the Cricut, and then the icon, the little Cricut icon, is going to flash, and it's going to prompt you to press that to go ahead and get the Cricut to start cutting the images out for you. Then once you get the first image cut, you go to the next image and cut it, or the next paper, and load it onto your mat and cut it, and so forth and so on until you get all of the images cut. Okay, as I stated earlier, the heat transfer paper that I was using is specially formulated to work with laser printers. The downside of it is that it is ideally used on a heat press. So if you have a friend or you know someone that owns a heat press and would let you borrow their, or go to their shop and use their heat press for a few seconds, that would be ideal. Or if they would charge you a nominal fee, small, because it's not going to take more than 30 seconds to transfer your images, depending on how many you're doing. If you're doing several images or several pieces, of course, you might want to pay them a little something for that convenience of using their heat press. But this can be done with an iron. It would be easier and it would be faster if you could borrow or go to someone's house or their shop and use their heat press, because it gives the pressure to get a good adherence, and it also gives the high heat, and it does it in 30 seconds. But I did do it at home using my home iron. It just took longer, and I had to really put some muscle into it. They said to not use an ironing board, but I did, and I was able to achieve good results with it. But it does take longer, because you can only work in really small sections, and it takes about 2 minutes per section of really pressing good, moving the iron around a little bit and pressing good to really get the image to adhere. And then what I also recommend is to let it cool before you try and pull the transfer paper off. I tried pulling it off while it was hot, and it would start to pull little bits of the image up. So I do recommend let it cool completely before you try and pull the transfer paper off. And I also did lay parchment paper on top of my heat transfer paper just to give a little extra protection to my fabric, because I didn't want to burn my fabric in this process. Using the high heat and the pressure that I was using, I was concerned that that might happen. So here is the final image, and I gotta tell you, I am super pleased with the way it turned out. With that heat transfer paper, it did have a lot of mixed reviews about whether or not it would work at home with a home iron, and they did have people who gave recommendations, you know, again, of not using an ironing board, to use a harder surface, but I was able to achieve this result using a hand iron on an ironing board at home. Like I said, it just took longer, and it took me really putting some muscle and some pressure into it and taking a little bit extra precaution with the parchment paper. And it did say, one of the other things that the directions said was that if you got kind of a texture to your image after you removed your transfer paper, was that you could put the parchment paper on top of the heat transferred image and iron over it with your parchment paper, and it would smooth it out. But I did not have that experience. The image was perfectly smooth and beautiful when it was done, and I've got to tell you, Lily loved her pillow. She just thought it was the most fantastic thing ever. I did one for my grandson also, using his favorite sports team and colors with his name, and he was equally as happy. And these were very inexpensive pillows that I bought at Walmart for, I want to say, around $3 each, because I didn't necessarily intend it for them to be pillows that they would sleep on as much as just something decorative for their bed. But they were so excited. They were like, "Oh, Grammy, you got us feather pillows," and I did not go out and purchase feather pillows, but you know, that's for kids. You know, just doing something that is personal to them means the world to them. So I highly, you know, I'm really going to recommend you give this a try. It was a lot of fun creating and designing this for my grandchildren, and it was even more joyous to see the joy in their faces in getting it. So again, I love my new Cricut. I'm so pleased with it, and the possibilities are just as endless as my imagination. So I'm excited, and I'm hoping to bring you lots more Cricut projects in the future. Please give me a thumbs up and leave me some comments below, and let me know if you like this kind of format in pictures. To me, it was easier to do this in pictures because there were so many different, all of it was on the computer, and that doesn't necessarily film very well, so it seemed easier to do it in pictures to really give you a good, thorough representation of the process and the finished product and such. But give me some comments below, first off, to let me know if you're enjoying seeing Cricut projects, and secondly, if you like this format okay. But anyway, you guys are the best. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that little subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And also by my name. And nowadays I understand from the big YouTubers that you also have to click on some little bell after you subscribe to be able to be notified of when I post a new video, which normally they come out every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So if you would do that also, I'd appreciate it. And also join my new Facebook group. The link is in the description below. Come join in the crafty fun with me and a lot of other crafters. We're having a blast sharing projects with each other and answering each other's questions. So we would love to have you join in Janine's Craft Room group. As always, you guys have a very blessed day. Bye now.